Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about the 50-30-20 rule. A friend put me in touch with a post about the 50-30-20 rule, so I wanted to have a look into this and see whether or not that's something that applied to my budget. So if you're not familiar, the 50-30-20 rule is a budgeting strategy in which 50% of your wages go towards your bills, 30% goes towards spend and 20% goes straight into savings. So I had to do the maths, obviously, because I wanted to know what mine looked like and whether or not it was similar. I had a feeling it wasn't going to be 50% on bills because I'm a single parent, and I think for the average Joe it definitely isn't going to be 50%. This was an article that suggested that they only spent 50% on bills, but they were living at home. They were paying very little rent, so their basic bills were very minimal in my opinion. So I wanted to see what I was doing so that I could advise whether or not the 50-30-20 rule was possible or applicable. So for me, when I did all the calculations, I realised that I was actually spending 64% of my income on bills, and that includes absolutely everything. So that's including the MOT, it's including school uniform, it's including food, petrol, all the household bills, rent, etc. So that's everything included. My spend amount, significantly lower than the suggested 30%, is actually 4%. I have a very small budget that I spend on extra additional things. So I try and keep that under control, and there's a very good reason why I'm doing that at the minute. And for the savings category, I'm actually saving 32% of my income. So I'm definitely doing a very different mix to the 50-30-20 rule. I think it's a good idea to assess your finances and see where you currently sit on that, because for me personally, to be spending 30% of my income on just things and going out and doing things was a lot of money. And if I want to save a deposit for a house, then I really need to knuckle down and I really need to save every penny. So for me it wasn't viable because it's much harder for me to save a deposit in the first place. And if you really want to get somewhere a lot quicker, then it's really important that you're just cutting those costs down as much as you possibly can. It's definitely a matter of priorities there. I think if you were to check your income and see how much you're spending on bills, then on spend, and then on savings, and then try and see if you can find ways of adjusting your figures slightly. So it might be that you realise that you're spending actually a really large proportion on spend and you don't want to be. That's the area then that you can focus on and look at reducing so that you can up a percentage in somewhere else. So I think for most people, I should imagine 60 or 65% of your money is going to be going on bills, and that is pretty typical if you bear in mind rent costs as well as the household bills as well. I think that's a bit more realistic. Then you've got a good 35 to 40% to play with, and that's where you need to look really carefully about what it is that you actually want to spend. What would be really interesting is to know like where you guys are. So for me, I'm definitely saving more than what I'm spending, but is that the same for everybody? Do you think I should be cutting, well, I don't know if I can cut my spend anymore, but should I be cutting more, or should I be finding ways of reducing my other bills that little bit more? That is something that I'm looking at anyway in my bid to save as much money as I can, but it is quite interesting to be able to assess your finances and see where you are. I think my suggestion for when I have actually got myself a house and for my budgeting strategy, I think I'm going to go with a 60-20-20 approach. So 60% on bills, 20% on spend, and then 20% on savings, because I'm very aware that I still need to keep saving. After I bought a house, I need to have that pot of money should I need to do anything to the house or any repairs. So I need to have emergency money available, but I also want to be able to spend that little bit more. I've not spent very much money in the last 6 months, and I obviously won't be doing it for the next year. So it's going to get to a point where I'm going to want to be able to have that little bit more freedom and that little bit more spend. To go from 4% to 20% of my wages is going to be quite a jump. So hopefully I don't need to go up that much, but it will be nice to be able to have that flexibility. I hope you found this video interesting. I'd love to know what your kind of setup and percentages are and whether or not you think the 60-20-20 is achievable. let me know down in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it and press the subscribe button. Hopefully I will see you soon. Take care.